Those four starters that did not play last night, they're back tonight.
Yes.
The plan just to get them a little bit of, let them break a sweat a little bit before you go to.
Yeah, keep the rhythm and get a good workout.
When you guys were in here way back in October, you predicted that the Mavericks would take on Jason Kidd's personality, especially on defense. Don't know how much you've actually seen of this season, but from what you have, do you think that's happened?
I was correct.
What do you
That's
see?
the bottom line.
Okay.
I was correct for once. I wish I was more correct about my team. But yeah, they're one of the better defensive teams in the league. Team defenders. We got some good individual defenders. Even Luka's trying. So I got to screw with him a little bit.
Sure.
But they, obviously, they can score and they're talented, but you don't go anywhere if you don't play D once the playoffs begin. So he's made a great effort to set some standards, and they've bought in, and they can get even better, as time goes on. So future's very bright.
Given the many, many years and many, many battles, what satisfaction is drawn from getting 10th ahead of the Lakers?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. That's, so far in the past, this is now, and I don't get satisfaction out of things like that.
You've had more than your fair share of good leaders through the years. I'm sure they all had different ways of leading, but what in your mind makes a good leader for any team, but especially if it happens to be your best player?
Well, that's a tough question. People write books about that stuff, and you want me to answer, you got a minute and a half, so that's that's.
You can go 2 minutes.
No, you know who the leaders are pretty quickly on any one of these teams. The person who garners the respect of the group ends up being your leader, and usually that individual is intelligent, but in a fair and genuine way. I've always said that NBA players have great bullshit antennae, and they do. They know if the coach is full of baloney, they know if a player is full of baloney and faking it, that kind of thing. So the team will decide who the leader is, but that's a person of substance who is genuine, who walks the walk, and gets everything out of what he might have, whether it's just effort and not that talented, or super talented and effort is on top of it. A discipline that sort of by osmosis gets through the whole team, whether it's at practice, every drill that's run, being serious about his craft. And a lot of people can't do that practice to practice and night after night. So the cream supposedly rises to the top. And athletic teams, I think it happens quicker with them because of the competitive nature of the whole deal.
Thanks.
There's some teams, several teams that pretty clearly have not prioritized winning down the stretch, to put it politely. What benefit do you think your team, your young guys in particular, get from being in competitive situations and playing to win?
Well, that's a really incisive question, unlike most that I receive. It is, because there's a lot to unpack there. Part of it is it's just not who we are. It's not who I am. I can't operate like that, which might not be the most intelligent overall philosophy to have, and I get that. But we am who we am, and we're going to go ahead and compete. And I think that the young players gain a real understanding of just a philosophically moral space where it's the right thing to do to continue to compete. And frankly, I don't know how I would go to my team and say, okay, guys, we're not going to compete the way we should, or how you get that across, or you do it with a wink and a nod, that kind of thing. I think you do the players a disservice if they're not able to go out and perform at the best of their ability. So I think the lessons to be learned are very important as their careers advance. And you hope that in the end, in the long run, that value they gain from that will help them compete at an even higher level later. But I understand the opposite. I just can't do it.
Do you think the league, and they've tried with the play-in, they've tried with flattening the lottery odds some, but do you think the league needs to take another look to make losing not such an appealing strategy for teams?
Well, if there was a way to do that, I think that would be good. But, you know, Adam and his staff, they're pretty smart people. And if there was a silver bullet in that regard, they would have already shot it, I think. I respect their intelligence to a great deal with a lot of things they've done. And that would be a good fix if it was possible. Just like with the play-in, people ask about it. If you're 7 or 8, you don't like it. If you're 9 or 10, you go, hey, this is kind of cool. So a little bit of both. I mean, I wouldn't like it if I was 7th or 8th.
The numbers community that I'm not really smart enough to be part of, but they point to your guys' nightly average margin, which is still a positive, and say that you guys are actually more representative of a team that would be in the 500 range as opposed to what your record actually is. Do you see it that way?
Yes. It took a while to figure that out because I'm on their ass so much, but it's more of a youth and fourth quarter thing. Like we don't have go-to guys in the sense of giving the ball to this guy or that guy in the fourth quarter and taking over some of those games. We have to do it as a group, and I think that has allowed us to have some losses that you wouldn't necessarily have if you had that type of player, on your team, because it's pretty necessary in the NBA in the fourth quarter to have those guys to go to. So we've got to do it a different way, and sometimes that doesn't always work out. And the youth is the other part of it, playing, rookies and guys that haven't played a lot in the past. We made a big decision last year. We gave up 60 points a game by not bringing back 3 or 4 guys. That was 60 points. And we didn't add anybody to replace those 60 points. And the reason was I wanted these guys that we have now to experience that and have to have that pressure and figure it out. Otherwise, we'd be still going to those other guys. And these guys would not be growing. And it's not like we're going to go win a championship. So why not grow these guys? And at the same time, we did a good thing for the guys that we basically released, because they were able to join teams that probably had more of a chance to do something, and they were all great guys. And so I enjoyed that part of it too, to be able to do that for them. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. And with the situation we're in, I think it worked out really well.
When Murray puts up numbers, obviously, throughout the box score, is becoming a go-to guy, is that a goal that you have for him? Do you see him, on that type of path?
Yeah, he's most of the go-to guys in the league aren't point guards. Luke is a little bit different, obviously, because he can score like crazy. But you look at teams overall, it's usually the 2 or the 3 man, who's the guy that you're running plays for. Now, there's odd, you've got Embiid and Philly and that sort of thing here and there, but mostly the point guards are making sure that everything is copacetic and that everything goes well. They're still going to score. I mean, Morant scores like crazy, right? But in general, the majority, that kind of thing. But for us, DeJounte is the guy that, has to score for us. And that's a learning process. This is the first year he's been in that kind of a position. But it takes the whole group to make that happen, execution-wise and setting picks and all that. It's hard to do it by yourself.
What is it that necessitates a go-to guy late in games? Because I feel like I've heard so many times, like, we just want to play our offense, our normal offense, but it does seem like most teams, maybe the best teams can do that, but most teams do need to go into some sort of different version of a go-to guy, an isolation scorer.
Well,
something like
to
that.
be simplistic, the ball ends up in the best player's hands. That's where you want it. You know, if you're on Kevin Durant's team, you want Kevin to have the ball. You know, you want Dirk to have the ball here in his heyday. You wanted Timmy to have the ball. Now there's secondary and tertiary guys that could end up doing it for you because a team goes and double teams somebody or whatever, takes it out of their hands. But in general, all of us try to get the ball in our best players' hands, and that's your best percentage to score.
Anybody else? Thanks, Bob.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay.